Hello, everyone, and welcome to the stream. Tonight's a pretty cool stream because we're going to be talking about two brand new roller coasters that just opened recently. But first, we're going to start off with some introductions. I, of course, am Colin from Hollywood Studios. Bob, you're up next.
Bob from BK Photo Page and president of Great Ohio Coaster Club.
Jeremy.
I'm Jeremy from Buckeye Coasters and the vice president of GOCC.
And Ken.
And not to be cliche, but I'm just Ken.
Just Ken. But that's okay. So in this stream, we're going to be talking about, of course, Top Thrill 2 and Iron Menace. I'm going to start with Top Thrill 2 since I know everybody here has ridden Top Thrill 2. And for those of you wondering, Tom will be joining us a little later on. Currently, he's working on closing out Great Adventure, so he'll be here after that. But let's start off with Top Thrill 2. So I'm going to start with Bob because, Bob, Top Thrill 2 is your 500th coaster credit. So definitely, I'm sure, holds a pretty big bit of, how do I word it? It's important to you. It's an important coaster to you. How did you feel about it?
Yeah, well, first off, obviously we should say thank you to the park for inviting us. For Jeremy and I, thanks to Tony, and then for you guys, thanks to the creator panel, whoever was running that, because I'm not sure who it was, but thank you for the invite, because it was probably the best media day, at least the most well-run one I've ever been to. It was incredible. In terms of the ride, Jeremy, and you saw my reaction. You were waiting in line, and you saw my reaction when we hit the brake run, right? And my jaw was literally on the bottom of the train. Like we launched out and we went the first one. We were like, all right, like it was what we expected, kind of, but it was smoother than what I expected, though, too. Having seen Tony's POV. And then when we hit the first launch, or the first like breaks where you launch backwards, both of us were just like shocked how intense that was. I mean, we knew it would be, you're going 102 or 101, whatever it is. And we both like missed the head chopper moment the first time because we weren't really paying attention to it because we were both so shocked by just the sheer intensity of it and didn't expect it. And then I guess you come down and you hit the last launch, and I mean, it's not the old dragster launch, obviously, because that was much more violent. It's much smoother and gradual, but I did not expect to get flung out of my seat over that top hat like that. I mean, that's not the highlight of the ride, but it's the most surprising moment of the ride. And even every ride after that, still, I don't think I expected it, even though I knew it was coming. So they shockingly, to me, knocked it out of the park. Like, I was very skeptical that it would be able to hold up, especially when, Zamperla had never done anything of this nature before, and they killed it. It's amazing. And it's funny today to see how many people at the preview stuff today, especially people that had been tweeting for months about how it was going to be terrible, and all of a sudden they're tweeting how great it is, or their older tweets are deleted when they were talking crap about it. It's really funny. But it shocked me. It really did, and it's just so much fun, and they were so efficient. I know we had to wait a lot for the POVs, but when they weren't doing that stuff, they were so quick. And I heard today they were running all three trains, and it was just boom, boom, boom right in a row, which is awesome.
Jeremy, what did you think of Top Thrill 2?
Well, I have to add with what Bob's saying, the second launch is just incredible. The rollback feature into that launch, just absolutely, you feel the kick when you hit those LSMs and go backwards for sure. And then Bob is not lying. Bob at one point was in my lap at one point.
I got tossed so hard
on one of the cycles that he and I, one of the runs that
because the force. If you get thrown forward because of the forces, like you're going down the spiral, you can't pull yourself out of it, and you're literally just like laying sideways. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, the one time he was literally laying in my lap.
Yeah.
So that was it was just such a fun ride. Like, everybody keeps talking to me about it, and I'm like, Top Thrill Dragster, what? Like,
yeah.
I don't even think it's in its ballpark. Like, I mean, the original ride was awesome and everything, but this is its own monster and its own league. I'm just incredibly shocked at how well it was. Because, like Bob said, I too was like, there's a lot on the line here, and who's going to end up coming out on this one, and the fact that both of them knocked it out of the park. But to add on to what Bob said, too, about today, it's really funny seeing all those people who, since Thursday, have been saying, oh, these guys are full of crap, and these guys are
we're kissing their park spot, yeah.
And everything. And then tonight when I got off work, I'm sitting here looking at my phone after the first rider event, and all I see is, oh my gosh, this is awesome. This is so cool. It was so great. And it's just like, okay, when are people going to finally realize it?
I know we're going to do Q&A later, but Zach asked in the comments, can you feel the transition from the old to the new track? Absolutely not.
No.
No,
no idea.
It's seamless. It's crazy how well they did with that. And to add on to it too, that entire area now is so cool looking. It's going to be at night, especially when you see it lit up. It's going to be so awesome looking, and it's totally without doing anything else besides Top Thrill 2 signage and then the new sign for Power Tower and painting Power Tower. That's all they did, but it makes such a huge difference that you're going to love it.
Yeah, walking into the what are they calling it? The CP Racing paddock.
CP Racing, yeah.
Paddock. Is unbelievable. Like having the catch fences like you do see in IndyCar or NASCAR, and having the red white around it. Even the painted concrete. Who would have thought that just painting concrete would make such a big difference in the area? So, and then the lighting effects, the TD2 sign, the two signs at the entrance, and the
merch is awesome too.
Yeah, the merch is great too.
There's actually a great sound system that most people probably didn't recognize, but they got subwoofers there that when that train passes by, it makes some noises that it just adds to the whole experience.
So, Ken, what did you think of the ride as a whole?
I don't miss the old ride. It's so much more of a ride now, because the first launch is kind of very gentle. It kind of like, oh, okay. And you get up to the point right where it's going to twist, and it gets to that point every time. And then you're going backwards, and all of a sudden you hit that backwards launch, and you're like, oh my God. And then you're up the top of that spike, and you look over, and you're looking down on the tower, and then coming down the head chopper, and then it kicks in, and it just shoots you up over the top. And the laterals, after you go over the top, the laterals that kind of twist you in the back, it feels like you're going to fall out.
Ken, you brought up a great point about consistency and everything like that. I don't think there was once that I saw that train not hit the same mark on the way up on the first launch and on the same height on the tower, if not higher than it was hitting. The consistency is unreal.
Yeah, I was really blown away by Zamperlo's ability to just make it hit the same exact marks every single time. And we saw it when it was freezing cold in the morning, completely empty trains, still hit the exact same spots. I was blown away by that. Kevin,
one of the things that we found interesting is that so we rode in row 2 on the first train of the day, and obviously we were blown away. And then later we rode in the back, and the back is super intense and a little bit bumpier, but definitely I like the back way better. But then we got stuck in row 6, and it was really odd. But and I mentioned it on your video, but you really feel the intensity of the launches in the middle of the train, which is something I would have never expected. And for those of you that are going to ride it at some point too, the restraints are awesome. They're so comfortable. Obviously, you got to deal with seatbelts. They're wonderful.
But I thought you felt the head chopping moment too more in the middle of the train, and I think it's probably that illusion of the fact that you're going through it that you feel it more, because we didn't feel it nearly in the front. We definitely experienced it in the back because we saw it coming, but you don't realize on the reverse launch, like you have that mental like it's coming type of deal. And when we flew up over top of it, it was flew right underneath it. It was
that moment right at the bottom of it too, when you're going backwards, that you get that like stomach dropping moment. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
Ken, you're the only one of us 4 that got to ride Top Thrill 2 in the very front row. What was that experience like, especially compared to like Dragster in the front row or Ka in the front row?
It was freezing. It was freezing. I couldn't really. I was so cold on that ride. The front row was good, but I actually like the back row better. I really like the back row better.
We were shocked that it was running to begin with when we got there, because it was so flipping cold that morning. But luckily there was no wind.
35 maybe. It was
and it was already running and flying over the top head at that like temperature.
Yeah, I think it was like 32 degrees or something when we got there.
Yeah.
It was 80 here today, by the way.
Yeah, it's 80 here as well.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
That is insane.
And when you're waiting to get on that ride and you hear the train going through the station backwards and then forwards, the noise it makes is kind of
Oh,
intimidating.
it's loud. It's really all the wind hitting that wall. Like
I wish
honestly,
wish they put a window there so you could see it.
I was thinking the same thing, kind of like how Velocicoaster has that window on the other side of
Yep.
the station. That way you can see it fly by. But if I had to guess, they probably don't want to take any chances after, you know, Dragster's situation. They probably don't want to risk anything, you know, breaking glass maybe or anything along those lines.
Speaking of that, let's talk about the queue line itself.
It's interesting.
I don't get it. Like, they said it can hold up to like 90 minutes worth of people, basically, which whatever number that might be. But it's literally like three-quarters of it are one lane, and that's it. Well, it's like fast lane and then one other lane, and it's like then there's like 4 or 5 switchbacks near the beginning of the line, and it's gonna spill out to like halfway to the front of the park for a while.
Yeah.
I think I mean, I know you're planning like for the future when the line does die down, and you're planning for it to be super efficient and things like that, which hopefully it is, but it just doesn't make sense.
And then you also have the fact that you're going to have a locker line too. So you're going to have people waiting in line to get the lockers. And I saw from the preview event today that line was unbelievably long. So you're going to have that line, and who knows, you know, if people are going to try to cut in the line or whatever. I'm not sure how they're handling that. I mean, Great Adventures had the same thing for the past, 6-7 years now, ever since they implemented the policy. So this isn't necessarily something new, but it is new for a brand new ride other than Jersey Devil. But this is a lot more popular than Devil.
There's going to be growing pains for sure with it. And you know, people keep like, it's still the argument people are complaining about is the locker situation. And I was arguing with somebody on Twitter about it, about like, why can't they put in like Steel Vengeance type lockers, blah, blah, blah. I don't think there's any room anywhere, because like on the back side, you're up against the water basically. And you can't really go in towards the infield because there's mechanical stuff there. So it's like, I don't know where they would do that if they did it.
I mean, the only thing I could really see is where the main queue kind of extrudes out past where Fastlane goes. You get towards the final turn. What they realistically maybe could do is have an extension of the path that goes underneath that turn, and then right next to the photo booth, that's where you have the double-sided lockers. That way you could access them from the exit easily. But either way, that's still pretty far out of the way from where the actual queue is. Like, it's not really configured to be easily set up like that. And even Steel Vengeance is a little out of the way from where the queue is. I mean, I remember when I first rode it, obviously it didn't have it. And then when I rode it again, when it did have it, it was in a really odd spot. It happens a little earlier than you'd expect it to, but I'm sure at some point they're going to try to figure out a solution to this. Obviously, they weren't planning for that from the get-go. So if you are someone who's going to Top Thrill 2 and you're, going to have to deal with that policy, just be prepared to get the locker and deal with whatever happens there.
Everybody's complaining about like not being able to have stuff online, and they're like, oh, it's because of the accident, this, that, and the other. No, it's not. It's because of efficiency. They want to be able to not have to deal with loose articles on the platform, so they can board you immediately and send the train out immediately. That's what it's about, not about any other reason.
It's quite nice to actually have to talk to people when you're waiting in line.
I remember. We had this conversation at the hotel about. I mean, I'm 41. Jeremy's just slightly younger than me, and it's like over half of my life we were standing in line without phones and without like anything.
It was nice. It was nice.
Deal with it. Who cares? Like, stop being brats about it.
Yeah.
The other thing I thought was interesting was when the train launches, the magnet set off the metal detector.
Yes.
That was very interesting.
I have a feeling that might be an issue down the line where they're gonna have to like stop letting people in the queue for like a second or two every time it comes by. That could become an issue long term, I think.
And it erases all your credit cards.
But I didn't get to the chance to film my full Top Thrill 2 review yet because I'm still recovering from the trip and I went to Great Adventure today. So I'll give you guys like a brief summary of what I thought of the ride. So that first launch, I know a lot of people are kind of giving it flack for not being as intense or anything like that as the original. And it's definitely not as intense, but I still think what they did with the launch is pretty interesting because it starts with a pretty strong kick, not necessarily as strong as Dragster, but it still has enough of a kick where you're going to have to keep your head back. And once you get up to a certain speed, it kind of starts to coast, but it's still accelerating ever so slightly. So you get this really weird sensation of like this weak acceleration where you're not gliding, but you're not like accelerating stupid fast either. So it's kind of like this really weird feeling. Then, of course, you have the rollback, which isn't the greatest thing ever. It's really only good when you're in the front row, but it's still cool to kind of look around and get a different experience on the top hat. But the backwards launch is where the ride really kicks in. And what's weird is that you'll be gliding along straight track and you're like waiting and waiting and waiting for that kick. And then out of nowhere, And you can see in my reverse POV, I just get thrown forward because you couldn't really resist the force of that launch. You just get thrown forward, go flying backwards, go up that spike. The spike is great. You get a great view of Lake Erie. I kept like looking to the side, and the fact that you're like over Power Tower. I think Bob, in your reverse POV, you mentioned like, oh, we're over Power Tower right now.
Yeah, you can look
it's
straight
insane
down on
how
it.
high up you get. It's just
It's,
you don't
it's
really
weird.
realize.
It's weird though, from like standing underneath it though, it doesn't look like it's that high. Like the spike looks high, but when the train's going up, when you look up, you don't think it's that high for some reason. It's really weird.
No, I get that. Yeah.
And it actually doesn't feel that high unless you look over to the side.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's because the spike itself is pretty much just a supersized version of something we've all experienced already. So it's not like that different from something like Pantheon spike.
What was cool is our second ride was the ride we took in the back, and it was right as the sun was rising. So like we looked out over as we're going down the thing, we're looking out over the water, watching the sunrise. It was incredible.
That's awesome. And then of course you fly back down, go through that head chopper, and I know everyone else has been like really raving about the head chopper. Head choppers don't really bother me. Like I don't really get that sensation from them for whatever reason, but it is cool. Then of course you fly forward 120 miles an hour, and to be going that fast for such a long period of time like that really is a unique sensation. And it does have a pretty decent acceleration when you get up to 120. And I think the biggest thing that caught me off guard with the ride is the sensations you feel in the top hat, because a lot of people kind of underestimated from the start that these trains would completely change those sensations. The heart lining wasn't designed for people to be sitting as high as they are on these Zamperla trains. So since you're so much higher than you were on the original Intamin trains, the heart lining is all out of whack. So your center of gravity is higher than it should be for what the track is designed for. So you just get whipped around laterally. It is some of the most insane sensations I've ever felt on a coaster. And honestly, the drop off that top hat in the back row might be one of my favorite drops of all time now, because I always thought the twist was kind of weak on Dragster and Ka as well.
You get whipped now.
You get whipped. Like you can see in a lot of people's reverse POVs, they get thrown so hard to the side that they wind up over the seat like this, laying on the person next to them. It is unbelievable.
Did you see it was in our group chat. Did you see when we were there that notch in the track coming down?
Yes, I did.
I didn't notice it when we were there, and then I saw the picture and I was like, oh, okay, wow, that's really.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until I saw the picture either. But
okay, that's what I was saying. Yeah, I didn't see it when I was there.
No, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, you're thrown so far out. I mean, the clearances definitely weren't designed for that either.
It changed it for sure.
But for the people asking if Top Thrill 2 is better than Dragster, I think the general verdict among us is that it is better than the original Dragster.
Absolutely.
Which, I'll be completely honest, before this ride was open, before I went, I was a big skeptic of this ride. I really didn't think too much of it. I thought, they could have done more, blah, blah, blah. I know they definitely could have done more, but what they did is phenomenal. Way better than I ever could have imagined it being. And then the comparison to King to Ka, I was hoping to get a ride on Ka today to give it like a direct comparison, but I couldn't really do that. But from my rides on Ka, I might have to lean towards Top Thrill 2, honestly. Ka is more intense, but Top Thrill 2 is just a more complete ride, has better forces all around, and really just shocked me with how good it was.
Hey, Colin, you brought up a really good point there. It is, in my opinion, it's a more complete ride now.
Oh, 100%.
It's completely a more complete ride.
And Cedar Fair actually tried to do theming, which is amazing.
Yeah.
No, they actually did a really cool job.
No, they did a great job with it. Like I remember because when they announced it and everything, they were like, "What? We're like racing theme? What the heck?" And then they didn't really elaborate on that, and they didn't like go all out on the racing theme. What they did was they kind of tried to pair the nostalgia of Dragster with like almost like a Formula One type thing. Now is what it's like, which is really cool. Like that they did that. Like that shirt is awesome. I should have bought it while I was there. I just didn't, but whatever.
The ready to go one.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, I love that shirt. I wore it today.
I wore it Friday to work.
I think that's definitely going to be a hot seller in the shop. But what I really like about the ride too, with the theming specifically, is that they didn't try to like forget about Dragster completely. Like there's a lot of nods to the original Dragster. I mean, the fact that they kept Ready to Go and remixed it and everything, so cool. I was thinking they weren't going to use it at all, and the fact that it was there was really, really cool to me.
Without overdoing it, though. I was
going to say, they didn't over-theme anything, though.
No.
Right.
I mean, it's just right.
No, the queue line is super plain.
Yes.
There's nothing in the queue at all.
But like adding the signage that look like the old Top Thrill sign to both the plaza entrances and things like that, it's just those little things that added to it to make it, like you said, Bob, the area looks great.
Yeah.
And I really
Well,
like
like
too, how they-
Colin and I were talking about that, like at the events, like before Dragster closed, and even after Dragster was closed, like if you walk through there at night, it was just dark. There was just nothing there, literally at all. And it's like, okay, now it's going to be like crazy lit up, and I have a feeling that Corkscrew is going to be on its last legs here within the next few years. If it's not already on the chopping block at some point, so they're going to do more over there too eventually. So, yeah, I mean, that area, you guys are going to see the first time you're there at night, especially how cool it looks. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the spike is well lit. The station area is well lit. The signage out front, you can see the trains on the deck, launch deck still when it's dark. The tree lights up. I think the tree is completely LED now.
It's LED, yeah, it's cool. The trains look so cool.
Oh, yeah.
And something I noticed too, I don't know if everyone picked up on it. I think Ken might have mentioned it to me. The sound they play before the launch sounds like the same exact sound they used for Maverick right before its main launch. It's like almost like a kaboom, like a boom sound effect. It's really weird. And I don't know if it's because of the LSMs or if they put that in there themselves, but it's a pretty cool touch. I think they probably did.
When so this is a weird story. I don't think my friend Nick's watching, but my friend Nick did his maintenance internship at Cedar Point, and if like the night crew couldn't figure something out on one of the rides, they would like leave a note for the morning crew saying, "Here's what's going on. You know, you need to fix this." And one of them left a note one day that said, "Maverick is making the skirt sound that 2 Chainz makes in some song," and left it for like the old guys during the day, and they had no idea what the hell he was talking about.
That's great. I do want to answer a couple quick questions. Again, Ken. What was that?
Was that
King to Katu?
See, it's funny because we were talking to a few members of the Zamperla team, and
the nicest people on earth, by the way.
Yes, they're great people, really, really nice people, and it was great to see how excited they were. You could tell that seeing this open and everyone being so happy riding it was really like an emotional moment for them. I know Antonio Zamperla put out a nice long message, and I think he said he got teary-eyed while he was there, which really, really happy for them. I think this is definitely going to be a groundbreaking coaster for them.
But you know, Antonio, the great thing about him was he waited through the regular line.
Yep.
Which you never see from officials like that.
Well, and you mentioned it to me too. He did not like stop talking to you when other people were waiting to talk to him. He let you finish the whole time before you moved on to the next person. It was awesome.
Yeah, we talked for 20 minutes and somebody came up and tried to get his attention. He's like, let me finish with him first before we talk, which was absolutely amazing. And we talked engineering and everything with me being a mechanical engineer and all that. Like it was insane how much, and I think he said thank you to me like 13 times for being there, which is incredible. I mean, he made every single person feel like they were special to him, which is incredible.
So I got to jump in here. We got the super chat.
At the end of the day, they had a train with all the Zamperla people on it.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw that.
The whole company, the whole team.
Thank you, John, for the super chat. And this is actually what I was just about to start talking about. Could you see a scenario where King Dakar gets the Top Thrill 2 treatment? So while we were talking to the Zamperla team, we made mention of some of the other intimate accelerator coasters in the country. And she said, oh, yeah, we're definitely keeping our eye on them. And we made a specific mention of King Dakar. And one of Ken's theories is that they can reuse the parachute tower for a project like this, since it is perfectly in line with the path of King Dakar. And we mentioned this to her, and she was like, oh, yeah, we know. It's perfectly in line with King Dakar.
She's smart.
The fact that they said that is pretty interesting to me. Personally, like I said, I do think Top Thrill 2 might be the better coaster when compared to King Dakar, but I like the fact that King Dakar and Top Thrill 2 are now 2 completely different experiences. Dragster and Ka did, of course, feel fairly similar to each other, but now you can go to Jersey, ride Ka, get that classic intimate accelerator type of experience. Then you can go to Cedar Point, ride Top Thrill 2. It's a completely different ride experience. So I do think that it could wind up happening to King Dakar. It doesn't mean I want it to, but it's not for the reasons you might think. I'd rather have the 2 separate, distinct experiences and keep Ka the way it is for as long as they can. But if they do decide that Ka is getting too intensive on maintenance costs, go for the Top Thrill 2 treatment from Zamperla because they did a phenomenal job.
Can they Can they send the dragster trains there after the merger, or would it work on the track and everything? Is it the same thing?
I mean, I would think it would. I'm just not sure how well that would work with Ka having the over-the-shoulder restraints because they're pretty much completely different trains with different chassis and everything.
Yep.
But there are a couple questions related specifically to Top Thrill 2 that I wanted to answer that I happened to catch in here if I could find them again. One of them, here it is. You have to be a part of a coaster club in order to attend media days for coasters. You don't. Media days, of course, the news media will be invited. Content creators like myself will be invited, of course, depending on the park and depending on your size and everything. Typically, you have to be a much larger content creator to get invited. And Ken was able to be there because Ace, American Coaster Enthusiasts, was allowed by Cedar Point to invite a select number of members of the club. So it depends on the media day. Like for Iron Menace Media Day, there were no Ace members there. It was all content creators and media. So it's not necessarily that you have to be a member of a coaster club. Sometimes that opportunity does present itself, but that is not always the case.
And I'd like to thank Ace for inviting me to the event. It was an amazing experience.
I believe there was around 100 Ace members there for media day as well,
right? Yeah,
which is a pretty good amount. So they got pretty lucky
for a Thursday at 5 a.m. That's a really good amount.
Yeah, and I did see someone ask what time we got there. So check-in started at 4:30. I think I got there at like 4:25. Ride started at 5 a.m. and then the event didn't end. Well, it was supposed to end at 1. It probably didn't end until like 2 with all the POV rides they were getting through.
We took ours right at about 1 o'clock, I think, right, Jeremy?
Yeah, and then they kept going after that too.
It was right around 1 or right after 1 because we didn't leave till after 1:30-ish.
Yeah. Oh, and I feel bad for you guys because that ride had to be brutal. Like I only had to drive an hour home, but I was dying.
It wasn't horrible. I mean, we went straight to the hotel we were at in Kings Island's area. It was about a 4-hour drive, but it was interesting to go from where it was freezing cold. What?
I stopped and slept for half an hour. It's like an hour into my drive.
I don't blame you.
I can't do this anymore.
Ken was supposed to go to Kings Island with us, but he decided not to.
I had fun.
Oh, glad you had fun. We had fun too.
Hey, Colin, there's a good question there that somebody's asking if they think that Top Thrill 2 is going to be more reliable than Dragster.
Question, yeah.
So absolutely.
I think 100%. I mean, that was the biggest reason they did this change, in my opinion, at least.
One of the things to watch too when you're in line is watch how the brake fins move now and stuff. It's so different.
It's angled. It's really weird.
Yeah, it's like it's on like an angle. It's very interesting.
But watching the switch track and everything seems to be functioning really well.
100%.
Consistency basis, I think it'll be more reliable too.
Does Top Thrill 2 play Ready to Go on the pre-launch? So on the pre-launch, there's like these revving sounds, not the same as the original Dragster. It's a little different. But what I really like about this one are the sounds that come from the countdown. They're like these, like this very like calm, like boop, 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 and then bam, you're gone. You have 5 dots and then a second, and then you go. And it's really cool. Honestly, I think I might like it better than the original Dragsters. And I really like the whole revving and, the tree coming down, but this one is really cool.
And after a while, you got sick of hearing Ready to Go. So
yes, exactly.
I can't imagine working that ride.
What I do like is that the soundtrack isn't just Ready to Go. There's
a lot of stuff.
Multiple different songs. One of them sounded like Subway Surfers. There was the one that was, of course, Republica's. There's a few different tracks that honestly fit the whole thing.
Yeah, and I mentioned it to you that it kept tricking me because I thought the train was going because I kept hearing screaming and cheering, but it's on the soundtrack. So like I was sitting there I was in the station trying to shoot up the spike, and I'm sitting here, oh, here it comes. No, not at all.
Yeah, they have different audio in the exit than they do the entrance, and like Bob said, it
doesn't bleed. Like it's very weird. Like they did a really good job.
Let's see. I think there's a couple other Top Thrill 2 questions before I.
Oh, Colin, Mark's moving to Cleveland, by the way.
What?
Mark's moving to Cleveland, by the way, so he'll be able to get us with his ADA pass on to
which
Top
Mark?
Thrill 2 quicker.
Oh,
Mark.
Oh, cool. What would TT3 look like if it happened?
Rubber Jeep.
Maybe they'd add an airtime hole on the launch, add a second top hat.
No,
and
they
a
take
second spike.
they take the spike and do what they did with Flash at Discovery Kingdom and just flatten it out.
Oh yeah, just extend it all the way to the
Yeah.
main entrance for the roll.
Yeah.
So real question, King Dakar Top Thrill 2. You guys have all ridden both, right? Which ones do you like better?
Top Thrill 2 by far.
Top Thrill 2.
Top Thrill 2.
There's your verdict. Top Thrill 2. Front or back row on Top Thrill 2. We talked about this a little bit earlier. Definitely back row. I didn't get to experience the very front row, but honestly, I would take the insane airtime on the drop in the back row any day over whatever wind you might get in the front.
Yep.
Top Thrill 2 is a back row ride now.
Oh, they ain't gonna let you pick though. They're gonna be assigning rows all summer, guaranteed.
Oh, 100%. We got lucky because it was media day. We could kind of request, but don't expect preferred seating because that ride's gonna have a very long line. Let's see. I don't think I can handle Top Thrill 2, to be honest. It's probably very intense. I think if you were able to handle Dragster, you can definitely handle this. And if you weren't able to handle Dragster, you can probably handle this. The biggest thing with Dragster was that the launch was so intense. And
so
obviously
it was 0 to 120, not already moving to 120. That's
exactly
the difference.
I mean, the intensity on this ride really does come from the top hat's laterals. Everything else, I think, is fairly manageable. Let's see. I do see someone asking about this first, Pantheon. Yeah, Top Thrill 2 or Pantheon's or Totatus. That's kind of a difficult comparison because they have very different focuses. I'd probably still go with Pantheon just because it has more to it. But that doesn't mean Top Thrill 2 is not fantastic. I think that's here we go. Well, Top Thrill 2. I think we answered this already.
Yeah, we already talked about that.
I think that's going to be it for the Top Thrill 2 section of this stream. So now we're going to move to Iron Menace. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm the only one of us that has ridden Iron Menace, right?
Yep.
Correct.
Okay. So Iron Menace, I have my review out, so I'm not going to have this section be quite as long as the Top Thrill 2 section. It's really just a fun ride. I mean, I'm personally not a huge fan of the newer style B&M dive coasters. I really don't like Valraven at Cedar Point. I think it's kind of dumb, especially with the vests. And I wasn't huge on Emperor at SeaWorld. I thought it was kind of dull, didn't really do much. But this one is a bit different. I like that it's got a much faster paced layout. The vests are nowhere near as tight as something like Valraven. They're a little loosened up, which I like. And it's not glass smooth, which some of you might think is a bad thing. I actually think it's a good thing because it adds to the intensity of the ride. That first valley from the drop going into the Immelman, gray out every single time. It was super intense. You get really fun, like floaty sensations on the 0G roll and the Immelman, especially if you're on the edge seats, you kind of get different kind of forces. The incline loop is a really intense element. And I love the kink on that final turn. I know it's kind of been the meme of the ride, but it really does add to that element. So I think Iron Menace, really, really good addition to the park. And I see a lot of people asking where it fits into Dorney Park's lineup in terms of rankings. I would say definitely top 3. I'm not sure if it's able to top Talon or Steel Force. I definitely don't think it tops Steel Force. It might be better than Talon, but I can't say for sure. But Iron Menace, really good ride. However, Top Thrill 2 is definitely the star of the new Cedar Fair coasters for the year. Now, I do want to talk about the other 2024 coasters' progress because these are the first 2 major ones to open in the States, but we still have plenty of others to go. Penguin Trek just started testing. We have Phoenix Rising, which probably isn't too far behind either. Flash finally went vertical. Georgia Surfer, I'm pretty sure, has yet to go vertical.
It hasn't gone vertical yet.
Bobcat, looking like it's just about done, honestly. Snoopy Soapbox Racers at Kings Island, that's just about done. Same with Good Gravy. So I want to know from you guys, other than Top Thrill 2 and Iron Menace, which new for 2024 coaster has you the most excited? We'll start with Bob.
Sorry, I was distracted. Pass. I'll come back. Go to Jeremy.
To be honest with you, I am really excited to see what Premiere did with Loch Ness Monster. I'm going to be there more than likely in 2 weeks, and I'm really excited to see what that racetrack does, and what they can add to it. The fact that they're taking that coaster and literally rebirthing it is great. Outside of that, new coasters, I really am interested in seeing what B&M does with Penguin Trek. If they can successfully execute that ride, it could be a big thing for them in the United States and the world, from a standpoint of satisfying that family type of coaster, which they currently don't really have in their lineup right now. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, as I was thinking about this, I will get to ride, hopefully, if it finally opens, the triple loop at Indiana Beach in July when we have our event there, which I'm interested, even though it's not new technically. The one that I might get back to this summer that I'm really interested to see what they did with it is the new Fire in the Hole at Silver Dollar City. I'm very interested to. I don't want to like spoil myself, so I'm not gonna like do any POVs or anything, but that also looks super interesting to me.
What about you, Ken?
Home parks, and I'm looking forward to Flash.
See, before Top Thrill 2 opened and I was able to ride it, I was dead set on thinking Flash would be the best new coaster of the year. I don't think that anymore. After riding Top Thrill 2, I just have a hard time thinking that Flash is going to be better. But other than Top Thrill 2 and Iron Menace, I do think Flash is probably my most anticipated coaster for the year, not just because it's at my home park, but because none of us have ridden New Gen Vekoma yet, and getting to see what that's like in that form, which is a ride that when I remember when it was first being built over in China, everyone was like, oh my God, that looks amazing. And to think that it's coming 30 minutes down the road for me is pretty exciting. I know capacity is definitely going to be a concern, but I think after the first year or two, it's probably not going to have a terrible wait. So I have also heard that they're going to be doing some pretty exciting stuff in the queue, like really good theming, which I'm excited to see. So we're going to have to wait and see on that. And of course, wait and see when it actually opens. They are moving pretty quick with construction, thankfully. Within 2 or 3 days, they were able to get everything that they have done up so far, and they have really good weather ahead for this week. So hopefully they'll be done with vertical construction throughout May, maybe early June, get it testing, and hopefully have it ready to go for the 50th anniversary. But it's a pretty tight deadline for them to meet. But with that being said, unless you guys have anything to add, we are going to go back to the top of the chat and start looking at some of your questions. Let's see. Will we, meaning Great Adventure, get another coaster next year? Probably. Not 100%, but probably. They are currently having that whole Frontier Adventures area closed, which kind of came out of nowhere. I assume it's for work on Log Flume, but it definitely could also be for work on the Northern Star Arena, which is where we believe the 2025 coaster will be. Flash, as we know, was not the definite original coaster for the 50th anniversary. There is something bigger planned, and I don't think that other thing was canceled per se. So we're going to have to wait and see what that winds up being. Georgia Surfer has footers installed. That's good to know. At least they have that. But as far as I know, they're not vertical over there yet. Do you think Flash will be a top 3 coaster at the park? I'm going to say probably not. I'm going to say it's probably going to be top 5. I wouldn't say top 3, though. Top 3, I mean, you have Toro, you have Devil, Nitro, Ka. I don't think it'll beat any of those, but probably after them. Let's see. I was unimpressed with Steel Force on the first ride. Well, if you rode it any year prior to this one, you should probably get a re-ride because they did a lot of work to Steel Force over this offseason. They got a new control panel, and now supposedly it runs similarly to the way Mamba at Worlds of Fun runs. And Mamba runs completely trimless, goes super fast. I don't think Steel Force is completely trimless, but from what I understand from people that have gotten to ride it, it does not hit as hard on the mid-course anymore, which I think is really great to see because I always thought it kind of hit way too hard there, but they're lessening up the brakes there. I think that's a really good sign. Tom works at Great Adventure again? No. Tom was just visiting. I think he should be joining us very soon, actually. He said he'll be on the stream very soon, probably within the next 20 minutes or so. So he should be here. Let's see. Top favorite media events you've been to, top favorite coaster events you've been to. Well, I'm going to start with Bob because Bob has been to a ton of media day events, way more than I have. What are your favorite media days you've been to?
Man, this one was awesome. It's probably a tie between this one and Steel Vengeance Media Day were probably the two best ones. Both extremely well run. Just Steel Vengeance was my very first one, so that's also kind of holds a special place in my heart, I guess. A lot of the other ones aren't nearly as big. Jersey Devil was cool too. They did a really good job there when Kirsten and Gabe were still there. But yeah, I mean, this Top Thrill 2 one was just, it was amazing. It was so well run. That was probably my favorite. In terms of favorite events, my favorite coaster event was probably CoasterCon in California. I had such an amazing time there. It was so well run, and it was like, I guess that's why it made last summer when we were at Magic Mountain and stuff seemed so awful, because it was so like run down and terribly run at that point. Yeah, I mean, that's there, that, and then Coaster Stock every year is by far my favorite local event, and it's unfortunately not happening this year, but it was just always so well done and so cool to be over 2 days and stuff like that. And yeah, so that's pretty much it.
How about you, Jeremy?
Top Thrill was definitely, like Bob said, probably topped the ones that I've been to. I've been to a bunch of them now. Iron Gwazi was great at Busch Gardens, and so was Pantheon at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. So those are probably my top 3 out of the ones that I've been to. Top favorite coaster event, hands down, would be Coaster Stock, like Bob mentioned, but Hollywood Nights of like 3 or 4 years ago was really, really good. But these last 2 years or so hasn't been as great of an experience, as much as I hate saying that, but I absolutely love how they have some water park ERT and stuff like that. You don't really find too many coaster events that have any water park ERT, and my family loves water parks and stuff. So Hollywood Nights of like 2 or 3 years ago was outstanding.
Ken, I know you have a really long history of going to media events. So which one of the, I know many you've been to, was your favorite? Or you could list off the ones you've been to, because I know you have a long list.
Are you considering like Travel Channel? There was a Travel Channel shoot for Cobb where it was raining out, and we actually got to ride it in the rain. That was quite a unique experience. I never want to do it again in the front row. Event-wise, there was, when El Toro opened, they had an event, and not enough people signed up for it. So they kind of altered it. And I actually got to ride King Ka 20 times in a row by myself in the front row. And that was quite an amazing experience.
They ran it with just you on the train?
Everyone else was over at El Toro, and I rode El Toro like a bunch of times, and I needed a break. And I said, I'm going back over to Ka, because there's only 2 coaches they had open. And they just kept hitting the button and sending me through. I got to see everybody running to Ka.
Wow.
Park open.
That's awesome. And what is your favorite coaster events that you've been to?
Hollywood Nights. I like Hollywood Nights.
For me, of the media days I've been to, let's see, I've been to Jersey Devils Media Day.
Wildcats Revenge is good too.
Wildcats was really good. I happened to be in that first group where they let some of us film on rides, so I got to do that, and then got like 14 rides or whatever I got on Wildcats. So that one might be my favorite, but I really did like the one they did just now for Top Thrill 2. Iron Menaces was also really good. I feel like I'm forgetting others that I've been to. I know I've been to more. Great Adventurers had quite a few for like the events and stuff. I'd probably go with Wildcat, but Top Thrill 2 is definitely not far behind. And in terms of my favorite coaster events, probably Riding of the Bull, either 2018 or 2019. Both of them were fantastic. Coaster Mania 2021 was also really good. Definitely not 2022. I'm trying to think of any others. Coasting by the Ocean at Maury's was fantastic as well. Like genuinely one of the best events out there.
It's always good.
In terms of ones I'd like to go to, I definitely want to get to Coaster Stock at some point. That sounds like a phenomenal event. Roller Coaster Rodeo also looks fantastic down at Fiesta, Texas. I'm not sure when I'll get out there.
I'm going there this year.
You're going there this year?
Yep.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, it looks fantastic. And, of course, Jeff does a phenomenal job down there running the park. So definitely a bucket list there. Let's see. Oh, here's a good one because I know we all had quite a reaction to this. Do you think Inside Edition went too far when calling their anticipated 2024 coasters a roller coaster arms race? Now, I'm going to be honest. That video pissed me off the way they set it up. It was just so frustrating for me to watch because instead of just doing something cool for Iron Menace, they had to bring in Top Thrill 2 and Georgia Surfer of all coasters for some reason and call it a roller coaster arms race, despite the fact that they're all under the same company now. So I wouldn't really call that a roller coaster arms race. But yeah, I wouldn't really call this year a roller coaster arms race. I mean, the biggest coaster is Top Thrill 2, which is a remake of a former coaster. Then you have Flash, which was a last minute thrown in addition. And other than that, I mean, you have Iron Menace, which that was pretty much just throwing Dorney a bone. And everything else is pretty much family coasters. So definitely not a roller coaster arms race this year. Let's see. Front or back row on Iron Menace. I know a lot of people were disagreeing with me. I like it better in the back row because I prefer the force you get on the drop in addition to the other forces throughout the layout. But I could understand why people like the front more because it is smoother up there. Let's see. Can't wait for King Ka 2. Maybe we can actually get airtime on the airtime hill. Hey, I mean, you do get some airtime on that airtime hill. Not a ton, but you get some. Did you see the new King Ka queue lockers today? I did. So for those of you that don't know, they put lockers in the queue at King Ka, Joker, and Jersey Devil, but it's only like 12 of them. There's a very small number of them. They're super tiny, and they're only for people using Flash Pass. So the way Flash Pass a Great Adventure, yeah, I know. The way Flash Pass a Great Adventure works, you scan your phone, you reserve everything on your phone and scan your phone. But obviously with Toro, Ka, Joker, and Devil, you can't have your phone on the ride. So what they do is they give you a wristband. You put the wristband on, link it to your phone, reserve on your phone, put your phone in the locker, scan the wristband. It's a hassle. That's why I don't do it. But what they're doing now at the 3 rides I mentioned is they have little tiny lockers so that you can scan your Flash Pass and then put your phone in the locker, go ride it, come back, take it out. And supposedly those lockers are free. So I do think it's a step in the right direction. I don't really know how well it's going to work since there's such a small number of them. But anything is better than the ridiculous system they have right now for Flash Pass, so you got to get the band and everything. Let's see. I plan to start vlogging during park visits. What tips do you have? So I've been doing this for a while. And over that period of time, I've definitely figured out what the best way is to do it. I do think that it does take away from your enjoyment of your experience at the park. I mean, the reason I do it is because I've been running this for so long and, I want to keep pumping the content out. But when you do plan to vlog at a park, you're not going to have the same experience that you would have if you weren't taking any content at all. So honestly, keep that in mind, especially say you're going to a park that you're not really at super often. Maybe you just want to enjoy the day and not vlog it. Vlogs, though, you should definitely try to make sure they carry throughout the day. Like you show your full experience throughout the day. At least that's what I try to do with mine. But everyone has their own style. And if you do want to pursue it, you pretty much just have to experiment and find your own unique style that sets you apart from everyone else. This isn't in the chat, but I do want to ask you guys about this. Carowinds, Kings Island, and Cedar Point all put out surveys asking which rides people would like to see the most at their parks. Actually,
some of those a really weird lineup of things on there.
Very, very weird.
It seems like such a Six Flags thing to do.
No, you're 100% right. If my Instagram would load, I would be able to show you.
Because there was the 300-foot dive coaster, there was the tilt coaster,
there's the Moth Extreme Spinner,
a water coaster, right?
Did any of you guys actually get the survey?
Like a super
No.
flume or something?
I did not,
Now,
unfortunately.
see, I got the Kings Island survey.
So you can verify that it's real.
It is real. Oh yeah, it's 100% real. Yeah, I got the Kings Island survey, which I've been getting that. I've been getting those type of surveys from them for a while now. Just like the Kentucky Kingdom one too. I ended up getting the Kentucky Kingdom one from earlier in the year. But yeah, Kings Island one was really interesting.
All right, here we go. This is the Kings Island one. So there's 4 concepts, 2 family, 2 thrill. This one that you see right here, are these the actual pictures that were in the survey?
My survey just asked about these types of designs. I didn't see any pictures in my survey. They were just asking me to rank how interested I would be in those concepts.
So I'm guessing these are probably just pictures these people put together for the post. But
I'm not sure. I heard that there was at least 2 surveys how they were done. Now mine was just all, what do you think about this? Where would you rank this in importance? That type of deal.
okay. So the Kings Island one had a 200-foot tall Mach Extreme spinning coaster that is a shuttle coaster. So it would have an inverted launch, I guess, like you see in that picture, giant vertical spike, blah, blah, blah. And then a 300-foot plus tall dive coaster, which would give the park its second Giga coaster. And then there's 2 other family coasters. One is like a full circuit family coaster. Then another one would be indoors. That's not all. We have the Cedar Point survey, which is where you get this crazy water coaster. So the 4 concepts for them are a hyper tilt coaster, presumably from Vekoma, the launch water coaster, like you see here, the same thing that Kings Island has with that shuttle extreme spinner, and then a family coaster, which doesn't really have too many details on. I guess this is the model they're kind of basing it off of. And then for Carowinds, they have the 300-foot B&M dive, 2 giant water rides, and a big family coaster. So they all have some overlap, not all the same overlap, but I think it's pretty interesting that these are the options they're going with because, like you said, this definitely screams Six Flags to me. This doesn't really seem like the direction Cedar Fair would go in. I do think Cedar Point, out of these options, would benefit most from the tilt coaster. I think that would be a really good fit for them because they don't really have anything like that. Personally, I'd rather see them get like a full-scale Mach Extreme spinner, but they already have a spinning coaster technically. I do think Kings Island, if they aren't getting an RMC or something, the Extreme Spinner is definitely the best option, though I would rather it not be a shuttle coaster. And then for Carowinds, I guess the dive coaster probably would be their best bet because they need something big. It's been a little while since they got something big, but very interesting things coming out of that. So, all that, let's continue down into the chat here. Phoenix over El Toro. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, Phoenix over El Toro pre-accident, I would have laughed at. But now, in terms of rewritability, Toro beats the crap out of me now.
You got to ride it again this year.
Yeah, I have to ride it since they did some more work on it because last year it just beat me up. Phoenix is great. I mean, you get so much airtime on Phoenix, it's ridiculous. But just the sheer intensity of Toro is unmatched.
I have to agree with Bob on that one.
Ken?
This year's El Toro is okay. Last year I would have said Phoenix, but this year's El Toro is much better.
This year's El Toro is super smooth. I just rode it today. I rode it 3 times. I rode it in the Magic seat, row 17, and then twice in the row in front of it. And it is running super fast and super smooth. So, Bob, where you got like the ridiculous jackhammering at the bottom of the turnaround is completely smoothed out now. Like night and day. It's unbelievable. Let's see. King Ka is getting converted sooner rather than later if Top Thrill 2 doesn't have any major issues this year. Hopefully they can do it without removing Green Lantern. I don't know if they could do it without removing Green Lantern, honestly. They'd have to route it weird.
Airtime hill. Go over.
True. Although I'm sure Green Lantern probably isn't something they want to keep around too long either. I mean, I like the ride, but when I rode it today, everyone came off, "Oh my god, that ride sucks! I'm never riding that ride again." So I don't know how long of a future it really has at the park, unfortunately. Has Jersey Devil become rough? I guess you could say that. It's definitely not as smooth as when it first opened, but all the Raptors have become rough. I mean, they're doing a ton of work right now at Wonder Woman in Fiesta, Texas, because that got really rough. Railblazer isn't super smooth either. Even the newest one, Wonder Woman at Magic Mountain, that one's not super smooth either. So they're definitely not the smoothest coaster model out there. Wildcat over Twisted Timbers. I mean, I agree with that personally.
Yeah, it's close though.
I
mean,
have
they're
not
both
got
great.
a chance to ride it yet, so I'll be
Wildcat?
interested to see. Yeah, Wildcat. I love Twisted Timbers. So
Wildcat's amazing. It's really good.
it looks amazing.
Yeah.
Timbers is probably the best small scale RMC, but Wildcat
agree.
is Wildcat. I mean, it's hard to top that. Do you think Flash will have a strict no-lose article policy? It will. It's already on the park map, which I kind of figured because it's going directly over pathways and everything. So having people have phones in their pockets with that dynamic of the ride probably wouldn't be a very good idea. We need to fly you out to Qiddiya to ride Falcon's Flight. I would definitely like to. The country itself is definitely a little, I don't know, but the park looks sick, and Falcon's Flight looks ridiculous. By the rate of construction, when do you think Flash will open? It's hard because if you asked me this last weekend, I probably would have said August. But if you ask me now, I got to wait a week to see how fast they're able to get what they're going to do this week up. Because if they get a good portion of the ride up this week, I can see it being open for the 50th anniversary, which is on July 1st or July 4th. I think it's July 1st. If not, if they're not going to move as fast as they just did, I think it's going to be a later summer opening, whether that's July or August. But I'm going to be hopeful for now. I know in my conversations with Brian, the park president, he said he wants it open for the 50th anniversary, if not sooner. So we'll see what happens. Let's see. Cons needs to get converted to an air launch. I don't think that'll ever happen.
No.
I think the air launch and the hydraulic launch are dead. LSMs are the way of the future. Where is Ace? Bob, did you do this? Lucan wants to know.
Do what? Oh. No, I had nothing to do with it. Okay, I know where we're going with this. No, I had nothing to do with that one.
No. Ace, he did a busy trip, so I imagine he's probably tired. He was at Great Adventure on Friday. Then he did Hershey Park, Six Flags America, and King's Dominion all on Saturday.
What?
And then he did Busch Gardens today. So I think he needs his rest after all that. I don't know if I've ever heard of someone do all three of those parks in the same day other than him, but that's Ace. Let's see. Glad to see you and Bob enjoyed it. I remember y'all were skeptical about it. I was a big skeptic of Top Thrill 2. I mean, I really had a lot of reservations about the ride, but I'm glad to say that it far exceeded my expectations. Does Iron Menace have some rough spots? Yes, it does. But I think it adds to the ride. Is there a vlog for today, Collywood? Yes, it will be out tomorrow. Do you think Storm Runner would get the Top Thrill 2 treatment? So that kind of opens up an interesting can of worms because there's a couple other accelerator coasters other than King Ka in the States. You have Storm Runner, you have Accelerator, and you have Matsugani. I'm going to leave Matsugani out of the equation because I don't think it really qualifies. But with Accelerator and Storm Runner, especially Accelerator, I mean, down the line, are they going to have to do something like what they did to Top Thrill 2, even if it's just the LSM retrofit? Because Accelerator, as Bob and I dealt with firsthand last year, has a lot of issues. It is always closed. So down the line, I think they might have to call up Zamperla and get some help. Same with Hershey. I mean, Stormrunner, from what I know, is a very reliable ride compared to Accelerator. It's up very often, other than its year-long closure in 2020.
If Stormrunner was like 30 to 45 seconds longer, it would be close to my top 10 because it's really, really good. It's just so short.
It's over before it really gets started.
Yeah.
And it has a great start. It's just too short. But I do think down the line, say 20 years from now, if those coasters aren't completely removed, they'll probably be LSM'd. And Tom is now joining us. Welcome,
Whoa,
Tom.
who turned this thing on? Wow, hello.
So, Tom, now that you're here, before I continue with the questions, I do want to get your brief thoughts on Iron Menace. So what did you think of Iron Menace?
Yeah, so fun fact for y'all, I was just a great adventure, and on my arduous 15-minute drive home, I was listening to the stream, so I was catching up on everybody else's thoughts, but I got to agree, while the dive coaster is not my favorite coaster model out there, I think Dorney did a really nice job. It does have its little hiccups and bumpy spots, which might put people off, especially because it's new. But I think when you have that ride with the way that they retheme the area, it's such a great hit. And the theming really does do a lot for the ride. As far as ranking in the park, because I did listen in on that one too, I was able to ride at the charity event Steel Force with its new lift motor that was discussed at East Coaster, and it does that ride such a huge service. Brian, specifically Coaster Patch Shirt guy, used to say that Steel Force was like the 4th or 5th best ride in the park, and now he's calling it top 3. I'm inclined to believe that. For now, I think Steel Force and Iron Menace are in the top 3. I got to see whether or not Talon is still in there, because obviously that wasn't open for the event. But excellent ride. Iron Menace, that's what we were talking about, right? But I thought it was fun. I also got the mid-tier pinch, so I got a ton of Quartz. It was a ceramic coaster. The mouse pad I'm using right now, and a couple other things like a wine tumbler, and then, of course, a print, which I won't take out of the cover it's in, but excellent job, Dorney.
Yes, Iron Menace and Top Thrill 2. Hats off to Cedar Fair. They did a great job on both of those editions.
How was the haunt?
At Dorney?
You couldn't film in it, so I'm asking.
Oh, I didn't get to.
Phenomenal.
That wasn't included in the charity event for us, unfortunately. That walkthrough, but I do need to get back to haunt. I have not been there since 2021.
Ghost in the
They
Machine.
had it open for the media day.
They had it open, but there weren't any scare actors in it. But when I walked through it last year for haunt, probably the best Cedar Fair haunt I've ever seen. And my dad, he's been to the one at Carowinds as well. I haven't been to too many of the Cedar Fair haunts. Definitely one of the best, if not the best, Cedar Fair haunt maze. I mean, so well done, super long, and having gone through that last year and then seeing the theming for Iron Menace fits perfectly. Iron Menace or Dr. Diabolical? I can't answer that. I haven't ridden Dr. Diabolical yet. It was built a little after I went to Fiesta. Have any of you ridden Dr. Diabolical?
I have.
So what do you think of it?
I really liked it a lot compared to like Valraven or one of the other dive coasters I've ridden. I absolutely love Dr. Diabolicals. We were down there for the media event and the opening of it, so it was outstanding. Their queue is unbelievable. Like the theming in the queue area or the pre-show and all that were great. I'll be anxious to see how it compares to Iron Menace, because a lot of people I know went to Iron Menace, has also ridden Dr. Diabolicals, and it's been kind of half and half on who likes more. So I'm anxious to ride it this summer and compare the two.
It's funny because both those rides are actually really similar. I mean, Of course, they both have extensive theming. From what I understand, Dr. Diabolicals might be better. It has a pre-show and everything, so I think it might get the edge there. But they're both the only two B&M coasters to have 7 rows or an odd number of, not 7 rows, 7 people to a row, or an odd number of people in a row. And supposedly they both ride similarly. Does Dr. Diabolical have a bit of a shakiness to it?
No, it really doesn't. No. It's very, very smooth.
Okay. I've heard from some people that it's glass smooth. I've heard from some people it's got a little bit of a shimmy.
When I rode it when it opened, it was the smoothest dive coaster I had ever ridden.
Okay. But otherwise, I mean, they both, they have similar elements to a point. They're both very similar rides. They also have the same angle of descent on the drop. So I'll be curious when I eventually go back down to Texas and ride Dr. Diabolical to see how they compare. But Iron Menace is a great ride. Do you think Great Adventure should enclose its scrambler like the one at Casino Pier? That'd be interesting, but where Deja Vu is in the park, I don't think putting a building around it would really look great aesthetically. Maybe if they moved it inside the VIP lounge, the chiller building, maybe then that would work. But I really like that VIP lounge, so I don't really want to see it removed.
Well, we look for
Escape
the
has
next
one
question,
inside.
though. Oh,
You both just said something at the same time.
wow. Ken, are we like best friends now?
Ken, you go first.
I said Great Escape has one inside. The scramble.
Oh, that's
So
right.
you-
Yeah,
Igloo.
I forget what it's called. I know what you're talking about.
It was igloo themed. I remember that. I didn't get to ride it though. But as I was logging on, I heard you guys talking about the whereabouts of Ace. Because I asked him if he was going to Great Adventure today, and he said no. I was at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, but I'm going back to King's Dominion. So he was at both Virginia parks today. So that is where Ace was.
Yeah, he's very busy. He's got
He's
a lot
all
going
over
on,
it.
it seems. Are the restraints loose enough that you feel the free fall on Iron Menace? I'd say as long as you have a little bit of wiggle room in the restraint, you will get that sensation on the drop. But if you are stapled in, the vests kind of hinder any bit of airtime you'll get.
This
That's
is
on
why
any B&M
this is
coaster.
why I like Griffin and Sheikra better than the
Exactly.
new models.
I love Iron Menace, but it is nowhere near as good as Griffin and Sheikra because those two with the original over the shoulders, so much better. They're on a whole different tier, just the way that they are with those restraints.
Sheikra is so good.
Sheikah's a phenomenal ride.
It is.
Has anyone got a night ride on Iron Menace?
Yes.
Tom did.
Yes,
Does
I
that kick
did.
right up?
It doesn't, but we were talking to some people from Dorney, and they were saying that the plan is that it eventually will light up. So more to come on that.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Let's see.
That's an interesting observation. Oh, I was just thinking because when we were driving into Cedar Point, I was thinking as much as I don't like riding Valraven, it was really cool that they painted the bottom of the track silver because it just pops at night when it's dark.
Oh, it looks great at night.
Yeah, it's amazing looking.
I will say it's a good night ride because during Coaster Mania 2022, when Millennium Force had like an hour-long line during ERT, we went over to Valraven and just rode it a couple times, and it's actually a pretty fun night ride. I mean, I'm still not a huge fan of it, but hey, it was better than nothing.
I'll say driving into Cedar Point that early in the morning and seeing everything lit up was quite the experience.
It was unique. I don't think you'll ever have that again. Your guess as to when Flash will open. Well, we'll take everyone's poll here. We'll start with Ken. Ken, when do you think Flash will open?
I'm going to say late July.
Tom?
I'm going to be bold and say that they will have it ready to go on July 1st, the park's official 50th anniversary.
Jeremy?
I was thinking July to mid-July probably.
Bob?
Yeah, I was gonna say late July or early August.
I'm hoping, along with Tom, for July 1st, but these next couple weeks are going to be pivotal in seeing if that can happen. I wish they made Flash faster than King Ka. If they made Flash faster than King Ka, you'd have a pretty
It'd be
good
Roller
ride.
Coaster Tycoon shooting it off the spike and killing people.
Oh, man. When do you guys think Georgia Surfer will open? I honestly don't think it'll open till late summer or the fall. Judging off what they have done right now, if they don't get vertical soon, you might not be wrong. But that ride is like super tiny. There's not much to do in terms of vertical construction. So once they get started, it'll probably be done within 2 weeks or something. So they still have some wiggle room, but I think they should probably get moving on it so it can get open for the summer. What do you guys think?
I'm just trying to find like whatever the last construction update was like on their Instagram just to see if there's
It's
anything.
pretty much
but-
just footers right now.
Brothers.
Oh, well then, I mean, I don't know. Is it possible it gets punted to next year? That could also happen.
That'd be pretty rough if that happened.
I mean, I'm hoping July 4th.
If it's not open
frame.
by then, I mean, they got a bit of an
Yeah.
issue on their hands.
Yeah, but look how they handled the kid coaster too. I mean, it was supposed to be.
Somebody
true.
asked a question
Yeah.
earlier, and I don't know where it is in the chat, and it basically said like, why does Six Flags take their sweet time putting coasters, like when they construct coasters? And I really honestly believe, and I think somebody mentioned this to us one time, that like they think that the beginning of the season sells itself, and they want to boost in the middle of the season, so that's why they don't care about opening something like in July or late June or anything like that.
I mean, I was disappointed with like the kid coaster last year not opening until late in the season. So
Yeah.
Thank you, Cat1234. Heading to Reddit now. Apparently, there's pictures on Reddit.
Well, I know my dad mentioned this to me. He might have mentioned it to you guys too, that Six Flags will wait like this because they figure if they start construction a little late and they make it look like they're slowly working on the coaster, people will go during the spring and be like, "Oh, look at that new ride! I have to come back to ride it," as opposed to them going first thing in the spring. Oh, there's a look at Georgia Sir.
Pardon the glare, but it's pretty much just footers and they cleared some dirt.
rebar.
That's rough. Like I was saying, they'll come in the spring and be like, "Oh yeah, I'll just come back later." Meanwhile, if the ride was already open, "Oh, I rode the new ride. I don't know if I need to come back here." So at the end of the day, it's all marketing and money. That's the way it is, unfortunately. I do like the Cedar Fair approach, though, and getting rides open as soon as possible for park opening. Honestly, I'm surprised that Snoopy wasn't open at Kings Island yet. I thought for sure it would have been ready to go.
I think Chad said they were surprised too, right? He thought it was going to be done already.
Yeah. So the last 2 years, I know last year with Cargo Loco and Soul Spin, it was more a supply chain issue. But yeah, they were not expecting to go this far, from what I gathered too, with what he said to us, Bob.
Because they're usually pretty good at Kings Island with getting everything open for opening day, historically. Yeah. But, oh well. I saw SpongeBob in the Boneyard at Great Adventure today on Nitro.
Yes, He's still there.
You can see him there.
Back when 5-year-old Tom, that was like one of the 5 or 6 rides I would go on. So I sure miss SpongeBob.
Where does Top Thrill 2 place in Cedar Point's lineup? That's a great question. 2? You say 2?
Yeah.
Wow.
You have to keep in mind, I'm not a huge Maverick fan, so
right.
For me, Steel Vengeance being much longer and obviously a great ride, and then Top Thrill 2 right after that.
See, what I'm struggling with, and I've been struggling with this since I rode Top Thrill 2, I don't know if I like it better than Magnum or not, because my top coasters at Cedar Point, it goes 1 Steel Vengeance, 2 Maverick. Those are never going to change. 3 for me was Magnum. 4 for me was Dragster, and then 5 was Millennium Force. So I don't know if I have Top Thrill 2 at 4 or 3.
It also depends on your preference with things that are re-rideable and stuff like that too, because like Magnum, I cannot re-ride more than like 2 or 3 times. It just gives me a massive headache. So it just depends.
I mean, Magnum is a more complete ride overall. So I might lean towards Magnum, so that would put Top Thrill 2 at number 4. I will say it's definitely better than Millennium Force, in my opinion.
It'll be top 4 for most people. I think we can agree on that.
Yeah. What about you guys, Ken and Jeremy?
I don't really do that. I know the ones I don't like in the park, but each one's a different experience, so I don't really rank them.
Fair.
I would say it's at least top 4, like Bob said. I got to think about that one a little bit more.
It's tricky. It's really tricky.
Yeah, it is tricky. It's a great addition, though.
Oh, it really does add to the lineup. I mean, what they lost with Dragster, they gained back and then some with this.
I was going to say and then some for sure.
Let's see. I saw a leak that Magic Mountain is getting the kids coasters that Over Georgia and Fiesta got. I'm pretty sure that was an April Fool's joke. I mean,
I'm pretty sure whatever Magic Mountain's doing is big.
It better be big.
Yeah.
But Then again, it is right in the kids area, so it wouldn't be too far-fetched.
True.
I'm sure every
But
Six Flags park will have one of these at some point.
I could
Except
see it being
America
like a
and
big
Great
family coaster, honestly. That's what I'm guessing, just based off where it is in the park. Are we getting a Giga or an Intamin Blitz? How about neither? Oh, I don't know. We'll see. It's too early to really be able to speculate like that for the 2025 coaster. Let's let them get everything done for 2024. Then we'll start talking about that. Who's a good one? What are your top 3 aerodynamics coasters?
X2, Tennessee Tornado. Well, I mean, we're considering X2 Aero.
Yeah.
Tennessee Tornado's up there. Move. Then after that,
I know mine.
I don't know. Go ahead, because I'll probably agree with you.
I go X2, Magnum, and then it's super close between Tennessee Tornado and Viper.
Yeah, I somehow completely forgot about Magnum, despite the fact we were just talking about it for 5 minutes. Yeah, that'd probably be my other one.
Viper really caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did. Like, I really like that ride.
Smoother than the average Aero Looper, that's for sure. Give me a second, but I'll probably agree with X2 and Magnum as the top 2. But like, that's the question. It's like, what's number 3?
And I also do want to give a shout out to Vortex at Kings Island, because that was a really good Aero Mega Looper. Before,
I agree with Magnum and Tennessee Tornado.
Tennessee Tornado.
It's just
I probably would take it over Viper because it is just a better ride. I mean, that drop is insane. It's super intense. It's just a little on the short side.
I agree. It is. It's
short. Really short. Yeah.
I'll shout out Demon at CGA. That's the first one on my list that sticks out. It's like, you know what? That one was pretty decent.
What about you, Ken?
It's not Steam and Demon.
Ninja, St. Louis.
Ninja, St. Louis.
Blockbuster.
It's fair. I do want to also give a shout out to Diamondback at Frontier City, which was Lightning Loops. That ride is awesome. I don't know if it's better than
weird,
like Viper.
That weird backwards airtime you get is just
so
bizarre.
Weird. Yeah. Let's see. When will be the next time Dorney will get a large investment?
Hopefully not in another 18 years. Hopefully it's sooner.
I think it really depends on how successful this year is for them. So if you really do want to see Dorney continue to get investments, go visit Dorney Park. Give them visitation, because if they see an increase in revenue, increase in attendance, Cedar Fair or Six Flags, whatever it winds up being, will invest. And I hope to see Dorney continue to grow because it's a really, really nice park. Are you going to go to Lake Compounce this year because of the Wildcat retrack? See, it's funny because Wildcat, I know Tom can definitely attest to this, was probably my least favorite coaster when I rode it. It was brutally rough. And I've ridden some rough rides. I don't think anything is as rough as what that was prior to the retrack. Just beat the ever-loving crap out of you.
I think now, almost 3 years later, I'm still recovering.
Yeah.
It was horrendous, but I am willing to give it another chance because from what I've heard, like very early reviews, is that it went a long way with whatever they did. So
I saw the Parks and Earth POV. It looked like they had a couple employees on it, and it is a completely different ride now. They still didn't retrack the last little lap of it, so you'll be like super smooth for the whole ride, and then you get to the last lap and you just start bouncing like crazy again. But I do want to experience it along with Boulder Dash because Boulder Dash got all that Titan track just to see how much that's changed as well. Let's see. Skipping past some of the questions that we've answered in previous streams that are kind of redundant at this point. Let's see. Do you think a 4D coaster like X2 would be a good coaster for Great Adventure? I think it would be a good fit for the area in the Northern Star Arena. We don't have any coaster like that in our area.
Yeah, I'm wondering why there haven't been any like Dinoconda or anything like that built in the States since they are so like popular and reliable over there. since they finally got it right.
It's probably cost. They can't be cheap.
Yeah, yeah.
Although I think that is one coaster Great Adventure could definitely use, something so unique like that. But I don't think that's going to be on their schedule anytime soon to add.
We got the Joker instead of X2. That was
Yes,
Yeah, exactly.
That's our X2.
Do you think Flash will top Thrill 2? I don't think so. Honestly, I really don't.
I'll say no.
Top Thrill 2 just it really surprised me, man. Really surprised me. How do you go to Thrillathon? You buy a ticket. And drive there. But we don't know the date of Thrillathon yet. They haven't shared those details. For those of you who don't know, Thrillathon is Great Adventure's enthusiast event. It's a great event. They do a really good job. It was formerly Riding in the Bull, ran by Ace, and then the park took it over and changed it up a little bit. I don't know for sure that Thrillathon will return this year because they haven't shared it yet. It should. If not, I'm sure there will be an equivalent event from Ace or someone like that. So stay tuned for that. We don't know for sure yet. El Toro or Top Thrill 2? All right, well, that's not fair. It's definitely El Toro. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
How do you even compare those two?
Nothing alike. But this, absolutely. Top Thrill 2 definitely puts Zamperla on the map. This is the most important ride of their history right here. This is going to break them into a whole new market, in my opinion.
I couldn't agree more with you on that one, Colin. For sure.
I mean, you could tell just by the way the Zamperla employees were reacting on Media Day. I mean, they were
so happy.
over the moon. They were so happy.
I mean, they had a lot at stake, but if it failed, it wasn't that big of a deal for them. But the success is huge.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we know for sure that this didn't cost as much as, say, if Intamin did it. So that's another good thing going for them as well, where they can, come across a project and kind of not necessarily lowball, but their price will not be as high as something like Intamin.
It's mind-blowing to me, though, that they haven't done anything of that scale ever before, and they turned around and just did it.
And they did it fantastic.
And they did it right. Like, it's incredible.
They did a fantastic job, and the trains are incredible. They have changed
right on par with Intamin.
Yeah, I mean, they've changed the landscape for the coaster train, in my opinion, moving forward. People are going to be taking a note of what they did because those trains are flawless.
Absolutely. And for those of you that didn't get the chance to watch my vlog yet, which probably isn't too many of you, honestly, because the video is doing pretty well, which I want to thank you guys for that. Those restraints actually lock in place during the ride. They will not come down on you during the ride at all. They lock in place just like Gravity Group's Timberliners and don't move, which I wish more manufacturers would do that because that is a fantastic addition to the ride.
They're not going to give you room, though, just so you know. They're not going to staple you, but they're not going to give you room.
They'll have it sit on you. It's not going to be brutally tight, but it will touch your thighs. But honestly, on that ride, it doesn't matter because you're still going to get thrown out of your seat. Let's see. How often do you go to Great Adventure? Pretty much every week, sometimes a little more than that. Mainly for the content, but of course, to have fun.
It's about the people.
Of course.
It's the food. It's the food.
And the food. Honestly, I did have a really good sausage, pepper, and onion sandwich at Mama Flora's, which, by the way, seems to be the new spot to eat. Like,
100%. Their cheesesteaks are great.
Yes.
Let's see. Carowinds desperately needs a water ride. Cedar Point goes tilt coaster, and Kings Island goes extreme spinner. I don't disagree, although Carowinds, I wouldn't be against seeing them go with the dive coaster over that, but they do need a good water ride because I don't think they have a log flume anymore, right?
No,
they don't have any water ride.
Carowinds needs a non-crappy wood coaster where their water ride was. Put a GCI there.
They have that massive plot where the rapids are.
Yeah, GCI would fit perfectly in there, and all they have is Hurler, which destroyed me the last time where I thought I was gonna have to go to the hospital. I couldn't stand up straight after getting off of it.
That killed me.
They need to armsy it. but I don't think that's going to happen.
Sad.
Is it correct that Houdini's is closed until Fright Fest? That's what the
Yes.
sign says in front of it, unfortunately. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that. I'm going to Great Adventure on Friday. What food place should I go to? Mama Flora's. Or what is it called? Not Villains, Heroes.
Oh, it's the Heroes. Ah, shoot. You know,
It's right next to Batman. It has it's manned by Mama Flora's.
Formerly Casa de Quesadilla.
Yeah, it was formerly Casa
But
de
it's like
Quesadilla.
it's like the marriage of what that menu was and what Mama Flora's grill was. So
You also
you'll
have
find
Macho
something.
Nacho by El Toro. Best burger in the park, probably Garden State Grill right now, since Best of the West is closed.
Best of the West is closed?
Yeah, the entire Frontier Adventures area is closed.
This whole past weekend it was.
It's going to be closed probably till a little before Memorial Day, unfortunately.
I guess they're really working that log flume.
Yeah. The Primo's Pizza at Great Adventure is actually pretty good this year, especially if you can get a fresh slice. They changed the recipe up and it's pretty good, but your best bet is definitely Mama Flora's. Lightning Rod is better than Wildcat's Revenge? No. Lightning Rod, when I first rode it, is better than any coaster I've been on. But Lightning Rod 2022 and now, definitely not.
No.
Let's see. How can I join the club? What club? If you're talking about Ace,
The Hollywood Studios Club, send Colin $1,000 check.
Well, if you're looking to join
Don't get the
Ace, American Coaster Enthusiasts, or maybe they're looking to join Great Ohio Coaster Club. If you're looking to join Great Ohio Coaster Club, Bob, how would you go about that?
GreatOhioCC.com. It's all through the website.
There you go.
Or I'm sorry, it's .org, right? I think, Jeremy.
Yeah, it's .org.
Yeah, GreatOhioCC.org. Let's get that part right.
Let's see. Ace is a beast. You could definitely say that.
He's a beast who rode the beast. Wait, no, he didn't. I
No, I rode the beast.
You rode the beast. He rode the grizzly. The something else.
I do want to make note of this actually, because my Kings Island vlog probably isn't going to come out till a little later in the week. And Jeremy, you probably know too, because you've been to Kings Island this year so far, right?
Mm-hmm.
Beast was like shockingly smooth this year. I rode back row, which I was a little hesitant to do.
Did you go last year?
I did. Wait, no, I didn't.
So you've been there since they
2 years
retracted.
ago.
I went there in 2022, so I've been there since they retracted.
Oh no, it's remarkably smooth now.
It is. I rode back row. I was like, all right, it's probably to beat me up. No, it was
No.
so
No,
smooth.
Gravity Group did a great job on it.
So smooth. I couldn't
They
believe
did a great job on it and Racer both.
it. Racer was
was so smooth too.
blast smooth.
I used to dread riding the Racer when my kids would say, "Dad, let's go ride Racer," and I'm like, "No, it's only a once a season ride." Yeah, last year we rode it all the time.
No, they really knocked it out of the park. And Mystic Timbers is running like a dream too, super fast. Kings Island is right up there with Knoebels and Holiday World with taking care of their wood coasters. They know what they're doing. Should you wait for Epic Universe to go to Florida? At this point now, I probably would. In terms of new stuff opening this year in Florida, there's nothing that exciting. All you have is Penguin Trek and Phoenix Rising. They're just family coasters. I think your better bet is to wait until 2025, where you'll have all those rides open plus Epic Universe, which is going to be a game changer for Florida. So,
Which is going to make the other parks dead as hell, and I will enjoy going to the other parks while everybody's swarming Epic Universe.
And you might be having something at Fun Spot too.
That's true.
What I'm hearing rumor is Fun Spot might be getting something in 2025.
Yeah, hopefully. Do any of you know why online people are saying this season is El Toro's last season? Because they're trying to mess with you, probably.
Yeah, because the online people obviously know everything that goes on behind the scenes.
Of course.
And they're probably all Great Adventure connoisseurs.
Oh yeah.
You know,
The Dippin' Dots guy. Ask him.
Tom, are you rooting for the Caps?
to be honest, I really was rooting for Winnipeg But they got absolutely smacked, so I have to reconsider who I'm rooting for. But Caps, yes, but whoever advances to round 2 is going to get smacked around by the Hurricanes, and the Hurricanes are going to lose in the conference final. So do with that what you will.
Well, Tom, I know you'll hate me for saying this, but if it ain't the Devils, I'm going for the Rangers. I think they got it.
You do that. Have fun. I will not be joining you.
All right. Let's see. Why don't B&M dive coasters have lap bars like the one Knoebels? All right, well, B&M has been known for years to over-design their restraints. And the vest restraints, I think, are the culmination of that. Vest restraints, I'm probably not the only one. They're some of my least favorite restraints out there because they're just so restrictive. You can't even move when they're on you. Just not a great design, and an even worse design for dive coasters that are based on airtime.
Are you saying to have the same restraint that's on Phoenix on a dive coaster? Is that what that?
No, they're probably talking about Impulse at
Care
Knoebels.
about Impulse.
Okay.
Impulse's restraints are pretty good too.
Yeah, they're not bad.
But yeah, B&M, I don't know why they have such an issue with lap bars on coasters that go upside down, but they do. Let's see. People only like mock rides because of Max.
Nope. Nope.
Wrong coaster and wrong manufacturer. Yeah, I don't know what you're going for with that. Sorry.
I mean, they're all Premier, aren't they?
Max Force is SNS.
Yeah, the other ones are Premier.
I have no idea. Let's see. Here's a good question. What wins out after the merger? Cedar Fair opening day or Six Flags Midsummer?
Talking about for ride openings? Like, is that what we're going for?
I think so.
I mean, I would hope that it goes more towards the front of the year, but, you know, who the hell knows?
It pretty much comes down to if it's Zimmerman's choice or Salim's choice. That's what it'll come down to. Let's see. We need something to finally replace Goliath at New England. No kidding. New England hasn't gotten a new coaster since 2017. Like, they are beyond overdue for a new coaster.
That's 2005, though.
It's true. It's true. Well, they had 2012 Stinger and 2008 Possessed.
Right.
So they had at least something. What's the poll on TT2 versus TTD? TT2.
Yep.
Do you think Air Force is RMC's version of Magnum? I mean, Magnum, no, because Magnum, when it was first built, it was like a really big monumental ride for the entire industry. I guess
started the damn coaster wars.
Yeah, but Air Force didn't really have an effect on the coaster wars. I mean, maybe the Georgia coaster wars, but it was more so just like a really big thing for Fun Spot specifically. What do you think Fiesta Texas could get in 25? They placed the FT92 fan event between July 4th and Labor Day via the Jeff Siebert timeline. Probably more just general park improvements. They could be next on the line to get a new coaster. I'm not sure. I know as of right now, the rumored new coasters for Six Flags Parks next year are Great Adventure, Magic Mountain, and then there's a couple others. I think Great America is rumored. Fiesta Texas is rumored. New England really needs one. I don't think they're getting one. I'm not sure because Fiesta Texas had a bit of an off year this year, but they still did quite a bit. So we'll have to wait and see. But
we'll have to wait on that. There we go.
There it is. Thank you, Tom, for the super chat horn, and thank you, John, for the super chat. So I could see a situation where in 2026, COD gets the Top Thrill 2 treatment. Plus, do you think it's Houdini is on its last legs? So I don't think Houdini is on its last legs. I think it's a complicated ride as it is. They're probably having issues getting parts for it, similar to what happened with Twister. We all thought Twister was on its last legs, and it's still going. So I don't think about that. I think 2026 is too soon for COD to get the Top Thrill 2 treatment, just because they probably have other plans set up for a great adventure, and I don't think COT reimagining is in those 5-year plans or anything. And we still have to wait for the merger to happen and things to change after that. I do think down the line, Cobb will probably get the Top Thrill 2 treatment, but I don't think it'll be that soon, unless like an accident happens. Then it'll get fast tracked.
Could be staffing too for Houdini.
That's true as well.
Typically, one
Although
of the
I have
first.
heard that's had a lot of downtime and breakdowns that could have something to do with it. I know a few people from connoisseurs and other groups have been telling me about, the ride getting stuck quite a bit, then closing for the day, stuff like that. So, when will the park announce what they're actually doing for the 50th celebration? Hopefully soon, because they're about a month away from the festival or celebration actually starting. So, we'll see. Top Thrill 2 doesn't have enough elements for me to consider it an amazing ride. The launch on Dragster carried the layout. All I could say is wait till you ride it. Tom?
Yep.
Another super chat. Thank you, Gina, for the super chat. Do we know when Skull Mountain will be open again? I swear I saw a video saying it was open last week, but it was closed today. So that video was mine. It did open that day, but for a very short amount of time before it closed and then didn't reopen again. So I'm not really too sure what the situation is with it. Today, I did hear it testing, and I saw it testing. Didn't open. They have done some exterior work to the mountain. They've been painting it. They repainted the fencing around it. So I'm really hoping soon it will be open. We did, of course, hear from Brian, and I reported earlier in the year that they're trying to restore some of the theming elements. I hope they're also kind of covering up some of the holes that were in the mountain that were letting light seep in, because that ride's much better in the pitch dark. So we'll have to wait and see. I wish I had a date for you. Unfortunately, I don't know for sure. What I will say is that it's probably a safe bet that it'll be open by the 50th. I think that's probably their goal for everything, is to just have everything set perfectly for the 50th, but we'll have to wait and see. Let's see. Do you think we will see more of these Top Thrill 2 copies show up at other parks? Well, there's only one other park that has a coaster that can do that, and that's Ka, and I don't think that's going to happen yet.
Nobody's building this from the ground up.
No. That would be ridiculously expensive nowadays. So, I don't think so. Not even Six Flags Quidia. I-305 for Millennium Force. I-305 any day of the week.
Yes.
I think Millennium Force
is that unanimous? Is that unanimous amongst us?
I would think so. Millennium Force kind of lost its thunder over the years. Let's see. Best airtime moment at Great Adventure. Anything on El Toro.
The camelbacks on El Toro, I think.
I would say probably that. Tom, did you ride Toro today?
I got to ride 12 times by some miracle of God.
What on earth? I struggled to get 3.
Lines be damned.
Was it still running stupid fast when you got on it?
Yes. Oh my God, it was hauling.
Yeah.
The crew today, it cannot be understated how great the crew's been. I went each day this weekend, Friday through Sunday, and each day they were great. They make that line move so fast. I mean, I was using the single rider line, so that's also a perk of going alone, I guess. But like, that crew is incredible. 10 out of 10. Thank you for your hard work. Like, man. And like, I can't wait for the 2 trains to be on it. Oh man, it's only going to get better. The airtime is so good on those first 2 hills.
Oh yeah.
Single rider line.
Launch.
Yeah.
Oh wait, hold on.
Oh, do we? Wow, we do.
Thank you, Quinn, for the super chat. No question, but I greatly appreciate the super chat. Where were we? We were here. What's better, the Ka launch or Top Thrill 2 launch? Well, obviously Ka's launch is way better, but Top Thrill 2 isn't just about that first launch. There's more to it. When do you think Mine Train will be open? I'd say probably Memorial Day weekend.
Hope soon.
I know. I'm missing my rides on.
I missed that ride.
Mini Magnum right there. Let's see. What is the best RMC hybrid built off an older coaster? Well, it's either Gwazi or Steel Vengeance. Take your pick.
Well, how old are we talking? Like, do they mean like an old coaster?
I mean, if you're talking an old coaster, that would probably be Wicked Cyclone, right?
Yeah,
Because
that's what I
Cyclone is
don't know.
the
That's how
old
I'm
one.
interpreting the question.
Yeah, that would be the answer to that, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is Top Thrill 2 gonna be better than Ka? It's not
Already
gonna.
is.
It is.
It
better
is.
than Ka. I'm gonna put a line in the chat at approximately 9:46. That will signify no more questions after the line. So send in your final questions now before it's too late. Colin, do you have plans to ride Phoenix Rising at Busch Gardens, Tampa? Eventually. Maybe not this year. We'll have to wait and see. But we'll find out. Do you feel like you're going to fall out on the Top Thrill 2 spike? You don't feel like you're going to fall out on the spike. You feel like you're going to fall out on the top hat. That's where you really feel it. I mean, I encourage you guys after the stream. I'm trying to think whose on-ride videos really show it. I know Mr. King Coaster, he posted his on Facebook, and his friend next to him like got flung over and landed in his lap during the top hat twist.
I was
Bob's
gonna say
That
Bob
was
goes
me.
forward.
That was me.
Some of the news ones were also good. Kenny's was good from he's from
Kenny
Chicago,
Crumpton,
right?
yeah. No,
Yeah,
Kenny Crumpton's from Cleveland.
His
Yeah, Melon Coaster Network with the hair.
yes, Melody Coaster Networks was really good as well.
The hair just shows you where the airtime is.
Yes, big time.
Hair
A
time.
lot of really good on rides from that day. Let's see. Your guess for which season Six Flags / Cedar Fair all park passes will be available? I'd say maybe 2025. That
Yeah,
might
it just
be the
depends
year.
on when the merger goes through and how long it takes them to kind of reorganize
Yeah.
everything and structure everything.
Exactly.
I think 27.
27?
That builds in some time for like the merger to go through for them to like internally figure it out. I don't know. I'm being a little cautious.
True. I think
I can't remember
realistically
how
26.
quickly the Platinum Pass came into play. How quickly was that? Because I was part of the merger. I was working at Kings Island when that merger went through,
Oh man.
but I can't remember when they introduced that Platinum.
It was so I got my platinum pass in like 2009 or something. So
I was gonna say, yeah, it was right after I finished working at Kings Island. But
So
I was there.
that's it.
I was
The
there the
merger
morning.
happened in 06, right?
Yeah, I was there. I literally was sitting down there at Coney Mall waiting to go over to FOF to open FOF, and that's when they said, "Nope, everybody stay still and wait for the manager to come down and talk." And that's when they told us, all of us supervisors, we were no longer Paramount employees. We were we were Cedar Fair employees.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Bob, do you have plans to go to Great Adventure?
maybe if the timeline works out, I might come out for Thrillathon. I don't know. It just depends.
Or you can come out for Flash Media Day, whenever that is.
Maybe if I'm still on the media list, I'm pretty sure I am.
You should be.
I know like a thing probing who was on there, who was still on there a while back.
Oh, did you get that email?
Yeah, I think I responded.
Okay, you should be good then. What is the greatest roller coaster of all time, defunct included?
It's so subjective.
That is very subjective.
Hmm.
I mean, if we're talking the most well-rounded, I'd say probably Velocicoaster.
That's my number one, so I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
Ride experience, everything is probably Velocicoaster. Although Voltron Navarro is looking like it could give it a run for its money in terms of the most well-rounded best coaster. Same with Batman Gotham City Escape. Let's see. Which is better, Northeast Parks versus the Florida Parks? I think the Northeast Parks. There's more to them.
They're better well-rounded, but Florida has Velocicoaster, and Iron Gwazi, but like I don't know. There's just more
And
to do.
Butterbeer.
Florida does theming better.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you think Steel Curtain will be removed in the next 3 years if whatever they are doing to the ride doesn't succeed next year? I don't think it's going to get removed.
No, they spent way too much money on
fix
it. They're gonna figure it
Yeah.
out.
It was
They
too
have to
expensive.
figure it out.
Definitely. Someone had pictures of them taking ground samples from the Goliath plot at New England. I did see that. It's a good sign because when all the flash rumors started up, that was the first thing we saw them doing, taking ground samples from where Flash is going in now. So hopefully it's a good sign for that park because they desperately need a new coaster. What's up with the parachutes at Great Adventure? Good question. We don't really know yet. What do you think the improvements for Steel Curtain could be for increasing uptime and longevity? Honestly, I have no idea. I mean, I think they're probably going to beef up the support structure for starters because from what I understand, there are issues with that on that ride. Hopefully they'll get a faster lift motor because the lift on that ride looks stupid slow, which would, of course, increase throughput. Otherwise, I don't really know much about that ride because I haven't been to Kennywood while it's been open. So you guys, Bob and Jeremy, would probably know more about it than I would.
I don't know what's wrong with it. So
Yeah, I don't know either.
Like they've been so quiet about what's actually wrong with it. All I know is when we had our event there last year, we were on a backstage tour. We were walking towards the shed for Steel Curtain, and we basically said something about, holy crap, it's running. And immediately the radio popped on 5 seconds later and said Steel Curtain's down. So, yeah.
I mean, the year we had our event there, what was it?
Great.
3 years ago when
we had the Halloween event there. Yeah, it ran great.
Very
I'm
weird.
not sure what's going on.
How many trains were on each coaster today at Great Adventure? Every coaster was on one train except for Nitro, which was on 2. So, well, it was a little rough. I'm not going to lie.
Do you guys think that's something that's going to carry over into that Cedar Fair could get them to get to the point where they add more trains, or do you think that's... How do you guys feel about that? Because I know Cedar Fair doesn't do that as often as I hear Six Flags parks do.
See, it's weird because Great Adventure was never like this. I mean,
This is the first time ever.
It's the first time ever in a really long time. I mean, even last year when they were open, I mean, everything was on 2 trains, 3 trains, max capacity. This year, though, I'm really not sure why.
I just wondered because
they opened so early.
Yeah,
that's
what
one
I'm
thing.
thinking.
That's one thing I've heard about Six Flags parks. I mean, is that there's a lot of one train operations and stuff. Because like I went to opening day for Six Flags over Georgia last year and was so disappointed in like one train operations and stuff going on while I was down there.
Yeah, I mean, typically like all the Six Flags parks, they will start with like kind of rough operations at the start of the year, but most of them clean it up by summer, unless they're Magic Mountain, of course. But Great Adventure usually, like I said, in years past, they've always had max capacity running from the very start of the year, or maybe like 2 trains on Con Nitro instead of 3, but they would always have like 2 on Toro and everything. So I'm guessing it's just a product of them opening so early this year. Otherwise, I really don't know. It's surprising to me that, you know, it's almost May and we're still dealing with this. I didn't expect it to carry on this long.
Right.
Let's see. Just get past some of these. What coasters did you get on today? Well, Tom and I went to Great Adventure, not at the same time. I only got on Green Lantern and Toro.
I only got on Toro, and I ate some wings from the new Kickin' Chicken Sports Bar.
Very nice. I also rode Tango to say hi to Sammy.
Oh, very cool.
Let's see. Well, looks like this one is going to be what we ended on. Rolling Thunder review. So I want to know, have all of you ridden Rolling Thunder?
No.
Yes.
Of course.
Okay. So the Ohioans did not, but the Jerseyans did, of course. All right. So Rolling Thunder for me I mean, that was my childhood ride. I mean, I grew up on that ride. I remember when I was finally tall enough for it, I was over the moon excited about it. And when they got rid of it, of course, I was a little too young to like really understand what was going on. But I still think one of the worst decisions the park has ever made was to not RMC Rolling Thunder. That's just like one of the stupidest things I've ever seen. But
It
Rolling
could have
Thunder's
been. It was rotten.
well,
I
yeah.
have
I
pictures
mean, the
of it
structure was
right before it
horrible.
closed. It was rotten. It was so rotten.
So maybe the worst thing they ever did was just not to take care of it maybe as much as they should.
Well,
But,
definitely.
like, agreed.
But no, Rolling
If they
Thunder.
had it back up to code, they would have had to rebuild the whole thing to RMC it. So
Exactly. It would have cost more than a new coaster with how much everything cost. But it was a good ride. It was a very good ride.
It was very fun. I'm curious to know what we would think of it in the modern day, like if it were still somehow around. Does our nostalgia for it impact like how good the ride itself was? I'm sure it was like
It definitely does.
it had its rough spots, but like, man, I wish they would have saved it.
I mean, I'd say it was probably around on par with like Racer at Kings Island on its good days. You know, it wasn't as smooth as Racer is now, but Racer
Right.
10 years ago, probably pretty similar.
Right.
Rolling Thunder
Honestly,
did have its airtime moments. I will say
would
that.
it be akin to something like Lightning Racer now at Hershey? No. Little worse?
I mean, I don't really like Lightning Racer because I don't think it does.
Well, no, but
anything.
that's what I'm saying. So you're saying Rolling Thunder would be better than Lightning Racer is now? Like,
Maybe.
kind of in
Yeah,
that.
I would take Racer at Kings Island over Lightning Racer. I just think it does more.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not saying Lightning Racer is, like, really good right now, but I'm saying is Rolling Thunder 10 years ago comparable to what Lightning Racer is right now? In terms of smoothness.
No. Rolling Thunder was way rougher.
Rolling Thunder, that final turn right before you came back into the station.
Destroyed you.
That was
Oh
pretty
my God, I can still hear it.
Yeah.
And then you sit there and you hear the wheel spinning as you're waiting to go.
Yep. Yeah, that was something else. But with that, that is going to end out tonight's stream. I want to thank Bob, Jeremy, Tom, and Ken for joining me for the stream. It was a good stream. I was really happy to be able to talk to you guys about Top Thrill 2 and Iron Menace, which have been two coaster projects we've all been following very closely the past couple of years now, and to finally be able to ride them, so cool. And Austin, I see you saying Top Thrill 2 is overrated in the chat. Go ride it and then come back to me. I ain't listening to you right now. But I'm going to let you guys plug all your social medias one last time, starting with Bob. Bob, go right ahead.
BK photo page on pretty much everything. And if you're looking for a coaster club to join, we'd love to have you in Great Ohio Coaster Club.
Jeremy?
I second the Great Ohio Coaster Club comment. Buckeye Coasters, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and check out our YouTube. Our YouTube's growing daily now. I'm posting on it pretty regularly, so please check it out for me.
Tom?
You can find me on @TomsTracks99 on Instagram. I'm starting to get a little more active again. I went through a bit of a lull, but I'll be back.
And Ken?
I don't have anything to plug.
He's just Ken.
I'm just Ken.
But it's Ken off.
But thank you all for joining the stream. If you enjoyed, be sure to subscribe to Hollywood Studios, subscribe to Buckeye Coasters, follow BK Photo Page and Tom's Tracks 99, and say hi to Just Ken if you see him at Great Adventure. But hope you all have a good night. See you all in the next video. Goodbye, guys.